So welcome back to the Ladies of Light podcast with your host, Samantha Peters and
Kat.
And we are so excited because we have an amazing guest. He is the owner of the Joslin team, Grow Stack Dry brand. He's a 10X master coach with Grant Cardone. He is a real estate professional. He's closed over $250 million in real estate, which is insane. It's mind blowing. And, the best part is he's just so passionate and committed to helping business professionals build confidence, gain clarity on their vision, and just to create an insane, amazing community. So welcome to our podcast, Ken.
What's up, girls? How are you guys doing today?
We're doing great.
Yeah, it's an amazing day. It's so beautiful here in Connecticut. So
it's hot down here, and it's hot in the South. It's like 94 or 95 with like probably the same humidity. So when you walk outside for 10 minutes, it feels like you took a shower with your clothes on.
That's funny. So we have a bunch of questions we want to ask you. We want to kind of like pick your brain because you are just, amazing. So I want to know what drives you to become a better version of yourself every single day. I feel like every time I talk to you, you're just like on another level every single time. And it's just so inspiring.
Yeah. I would say there's two things. Number one, nobody sees behind the curtain. Like nobody really gets the behind the curtain look at what goes on. I shared last year at my Create conference, we host the #1 conference, entrepreneur conference in the Southeast. John Maxwell, Ed Milet, Jesse Itzler, Amber Lago, Jen Gottlieb. I mean, just a ton of amazing friends of mine, Carlos Reyes, Anthony Trucks, Randy Garn. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
And I shared last year, I talked about how I just kind of pulled the curtain back. So I had to speak behind John again. That's my second time. My first big stage ever was about 8,000-9,000 people in Michigan, and it was behind John. Anytime you got to go behind John Maxwell, he sucks the air out of the room. Like, you better bring your A game.
Yeah. We've seen him speak live.
Yeah. John's phenomenal. He's been a friend for 20 years. And so this time after John spoke, I really wanted to, at my Create conference, I really wanted to give people the behind the scenes look. And I tell people all the time, you see all the stuff, you see the Instagram, it's the world we live in, right? Like it's everybody's highlight reel. I said, but what you don't see is the behind the scene things.
Right.
What you don't see is before Create, you walk in Create and there's John and there's me getting up on stage. I've got a band led by one of my kids I've mentored for years. He's one of the top worship pastors in America. He's got musicians. The lead guitar player was on tour with Reba McEntire the week before. They're doing Prince, Justin Timberlake, Bob Seger, cover tunes, it is like 65-foot LED panel wall, lighting, cameras, rooms full, unbelievable world-class speakers. And I said, you come in and you're like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. But what you didn't see was the last 3 months of me waking up at 2 a.m. going, dude, do you really have what it takes to pull this off?
That belief in yourself.
Can you really do this? Like really just asking yourself and questioning, like, dude, can you really do this? Like when we pulled this mastermind off, we started this, it's a $35K a year investment. And we cap it at 50 and we're almost there already in our mastermind. I'm like, dude, can you pull this off? Because there are going to be moments in you talk about next levels. What people don't understand is in order to get from one level to another level, you've got to conquer that mindset where you're, whatever level you're at. And so I talk a lot about limiting beliefs. And the reason limiting beliefs are so important is the definition of a limiting belief is it's something that prohibits you from seeing the potential of your future. It robs your ability to be able to dream. It literally steals your ability to be able to look at your life and paint a picture and go, this is what I want it to look like. Because what happens is I have 5 affirmations I say every morning. We call it mirror work with Dr. Rob. Yes. Dr. Rob's one of my therapists that I see. And you said, yes, that's one of my therapists that I see. And I do mirror work every day. And one of my affirmations is I will live a life where my heart, my head, and my relationships are in alignment. I literally throughout the day, if I get some kind of a thought or something that takes me away from where I know God wants me to go, boom, nope, I will live a life. It's written in my journal every day. I will live a life. Where my heart, head, and relationships are in alignment, because my heart's where I dream. My head is where my belief system is located. And I'm telling you, every time you level up, you've got to go in there and face and conquer the limiting beliefs at that level, the things that prohibit you from seeing the potential of your future. And when you do that, when you get your heart and your head in alignment, it is the pathway. It is the gate to the next level. And
Joe Dispenza talks about that, the brain and heart coherence.
It's huge, because when you get to the next level, so my affirmation used to just be, I live a life where my heart and head are in alignment. Well, when I started realizing every level I go to where my heart and my head are in alignment, because what happens is most people's vision trips over their mindset every single day. And it erodes it takes away your hope. Like, I can't really see this come to pass. And what happened was, when I started to see my mindset get in alignment with my heart, my vision factory, if you will, then the relationships started coming into my life. Like, I've got some unbelievable relationships. And when you start getting those three things in alignment, that's when, again, I'm a person of faith. That's really where God kicks in and the supernatural takes place in your life. God, how do you continue to do this over and over again?
And so you just wake up and you do those affirmations every single day?
I literally just got through doing a podcast. My podcast that drops next Monday is Creating Your Ideal Mindset. It started out around the idea of creating your ideal relationship. And then the more I get into the relationship, the more I realize, crap, you can't have ideal relationships until you have an ideal mindset. If you don't understand your self-worth and you're not filled with confidence in who you are, you can't have ideal relationships. And the one way you get ideal relationships is to have an ideal mindset. To have an ideal mindset, you've got to build your confidence. One of the things you do to build your confidence, I call it blue space on my calendar. I have four calendar colors on my calendar: blue, green, yellow, red. Blue is my personal development time. It's 5 a.m. to 7:30 every single day. I had a therapy appointment with my counselor here local on Tuesday. It's blue for that hour. It's me. I'm working on me. So when you work on you, whether it be in the gym, I'm down 80 plus pounds right now over the past 2 years. When you work on you, you're going to, when you look at wins, those things start stacking, you gain momentum. What happens is it raises your confidence level. And the number one way to do it, my friend John Maxwell says this, he goes, the secret to your success is found in your daily routine.
Yeah.
Like, what is when I'm home here in Birmingham, in my house, my daily routine's ironclad. It does not fluctuate. The only thing that may differ is I usually beat my alarm clock up. This morning, I did not. This was out of 4 days this week. I beat my alarm clock up 3 times. Like literally 4:08, 4:22. I think my alarm clock set for 4:30. I beat it 3 days in a row. I didn't go to bed late last night because we had our coaching call last night. But yes, it is. Your morning routine is the most important thing for you as a leader. So, and some people, your rhythm may be different. You may like nighttime versus morning time. But I'm going to tell you, I know a lot of successful people, a lot of uber successful people, and every one of them crush it when it comes to daily and morning routines.
Yes. Yeah. And I love your quote where you say, if you need an alarm clock to get out of bed, your dreams and goals aren't big enough. And it's so true.
Right. Now I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were speaking about waking up and having that thought that came in your head, can I do this? There's so many people that can go down like a rabbit hole when that happens, start kind of thinking down a negative
persevering over it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what makes you, turn that off? Is it just like surrender to faith, or like, how do you actually get that alignment, that, heart and brain connection that you were speaking about?
Sometimes I don't do a good job at it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll go a couple hours. Sometimes I'll go a couple hours and then I'll be like, bro, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
You've got to talk to yourself.
Yeah.
Like I'll get up and walk into my master bathroom in my mirror and I'll be like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you got to cut this shit out.
Yeah.
There's too many people. God's put too big of a call on you to make a difference. You can't do this. And I'll go right back to my affirmations. You will live a life. And it's like it's funny. I was on the call with Dr. Rob. He's one of my therapists. He's one of the top NLP doctors. He works with all the A-listers on addiction. I don't have an addiction. He's just walking with me, rewiring my brain from high school and childhood. Parents got divorced when I was 8, 12 schools in 12 years, 6 different high schools back and forth. Just crazy, crazy childhood. And so he's given me this mirror work and these affirmations. And I told him the other day, I'm like, dude, like if people knew what goes on the side of my head, sometimes they'd be like, dude, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's this battle in my head.
Yeah.
Like, like you want to, because fear just wants you to cuddle up and have and just get on the couch and cover up the blanket and
Stay
watch
in
a
your
movie.
comfort zone.
Oh, are you kidding me? And like, this is why, like inside of our GSD community and my GSD Elite Mastermind, we talk about our core 5: faith, physical condition, relationships, business, finance. And in that order, you can't get those out of order. If you start working on your finances and your business and you're not doing anything with your health journey or your faith, you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. And I've got too many people that I know. One young kid, and if I said his name, you'd know who he is. One young kid, $2-3 million in the early 20s making, I mean, I think he did 3-point-some odd million like his second year in business.
I know who you're talking about.
and we're having a conversation. And I said, dude, you need me to coach you. He goes, oh, no, I don't need coaching. I've got this guy. I said, I'm not talking about your business. I'm talking about life. I'm talking about character and integrity. I'm talking about how you make decisions. And that individual's walked through an unbelievable season in the last 6 to 8 months where almost everything's been stripped from his life. Because the reality of it is, if you don't work on those core 5, your faith, then I don't care what faith you are. I'm a Christ follower. I got saved, gave my life to Christ when I was 25 years old, August 22nd, 1993. If you don't have your faith journey, if you don't have your personal health journey, which I didn't for years. I mean, I was over 300 pounds before I went. Dude, you got to do something about this.
Yeah.
And then your relationships, you get your faith and physical condition, because those are the two big, they're disciplined. Those things are tied together because it's discipline. Can I be disciplined to do what God asked me to do? And here's the deal. Let me say this. If you're listening to this today and you're kind of exploring, like, is Jesus real? Is God real? One of the things I used to say when I pastored all the time was this: that God's love for you isn't predicated on your performance. Like, there's nothing you do that makes God love you more or less. He loves you because he created you. He loves you because you're a son or a daughter. Has nothing to do with what you do. I got so much negative feedback from church people last year when I did a post. It was one of my Instagram little video shorts my team does. And I said, God doesn't love me any more than he does the guy who beat up his wife last night. People were like, oh my God, I can't believe you say that. It's true. He doesn't love me anymore.
Unconditional love.
Better believe it is. And we can't wrap our minds around that because we don't operate that way.
Yeah.
And when you understand, when you get the faith and the physical condition, when you start getting those things in alignment, then what happens is your relationships start coming in alignment. You start building your self-confidence, understanding your worth. And then when you do that, I just recorded a podcast right before I got on with you guys. My coaching with Ken is going to drop next Monday, where I talk about this. Like, when you begin to build your confidence, you understand your self-worth. What happens is you automatically begin to set boundaries in your life, in relationships.
I just got chills. Yeah. No, that's so true.
Oh, when you're in a relationship with somebody, and it can be an intimate relationship with a partner or a spouse, or it can be somebody you're super close with, like your circle. Let's say you're 10 or 12 guys. I've got 5 guys I'm on a text thread with every single day. Dude, we've been blowing it up this morning. Brian Covey, Senior Vice President at Loan Depot, did $2 billion last year. Gary Brecka, Brent Gove, Randy Garn, and my buddy Master Jeff. I'm 5 guys that are all net worth in the millions of dollars, guys that are crushing it, guys that love their families, guys that are doing really, really good. We're constantly bouncing things off of each other constantly.
I love that community.
Dude, when you get in relationships like that, you have to understand, especially the close, intimate relationships, whether it be a partner or spouse. Like, if I enter into a relationship with you, Samantha, and you and I are in an intimate relationship, you're my partner. And when I enter into that relationship, I have to enter that relationship from the standpoint of being a servant leader. Yeah. So I forfeit my right to communicate with you the way I communicate with everybody else. I have to learn to communicate with you the way that you receive it. So I have got to go, hey, you know what? If I'm going to be in a relationship with this individual, I've got to communicate with them the way that they hear me, the way that they understand me, and vice versa. It's got to be done that way. And there's a lot of people that are in relation. I just had a conversation yesterday with a couple, and they're like, well, we're splitting up. We're going our separate ways. Tell me what's going on. It's always finances or communication. This one was communication. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. When you get the faith journey, the physical condition, your relationships, those things start coming in alignment.
They
then
do.
the business and the finance.
And everything comes with it.
It's almost organically. It literally is almost organic.
Yeah. And I think going back to your point, it is so important to realize what other people need, because what I need is completely different than what you need. And so like knowing your fight language, knowing your love language is so imperative.
Yeah. When my main love language is words of affirmation.
Yeah.
And I was in a relationship one time, and the person I was in a relationship, I said, how come you don't affirm me? You know that my love language is words of affirmation. Oh, well, you get that from everybody else when you step off stage every time. Well,
but it means so much more.
It doesn't mean anything for me when people do that. You know how many people I get DM me every day, and how many people I get that say nice stuff? That doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Like when you're in a relationship with somebody, like their words, there's a multiplier effect. It's exponential when they speak those things into your life. And when you work on those core 5 in that order, and I'm telling you, this is why you want to talk about, I'm 53 years old. I'll be 54 in 2 weeks. August the 7th, by the way. I'm in an extra large shirt right now.
All right.
I like Breitlings. I like Tommy Bahama. But you want to talk about work? I'm reading Gabby Bernstein's book, Happy Days.
I love, yes.
Phenomenal.
Love her.
Absolutely. I've got 2 therapists that I see almost every week. I see Dr. Rob via video every week. I see Maxine every other week. I'm doing family therapy with just ended a 27-year marriage 2 years ago. Walked through a painful divorce. I'm going with my children. We're going to family therapy together. Like when my 27, there's been probably 2 things in the last 20 years that have been like, Ken, what are some of your favorite moments in 20 years? One time when I pastored my church, I would speak twice every Sunday, 35, 40 minutes. You're greeting everybody before you're there at 7:30 a.m., working through all the worship, what we would call cue to cue. You're walking through the whole set, making sure all the cues and lighting and videos and all that stuff's right. I would get done at the end of the day, and one of my 2 oldest daughters would drive me home because I'm exhausted. I'm just like, I'm zapped. They'd drive me home, and I'll never forget, I got in the car one time, and my daughter looked at me. She goes, Dad, you know what I love about you? I said, what's that, baby? She goes, you're the same dad at home as you are on the stage on Sunday. You're the same man. You're the same guy all the time. You don't change. Probably one of the biggest, like, okay, dude, you're doing okay. And then a couple 2 or 3 weeks ago, I'm with my 26-year-old who's been married a year and a half. Phenomenal. She's actually working with me as my executive assistant, helping lead this mastermind in Sundance. A couple weeks ago, she goes, Dad, we see the work you're doing. What you're doing is you're giving us hope.
Aww.
What you're doing is blazing a trail. You're giving us hope. When you get words like that from the people that are closest to you, and you're doing the work and they acknowledge that you're doing the work, that's where those core 5, faith, physical condition, relationships, the business side and the finance side, it's like, it just happens. Those things become organic.
I love that. One thing that I learned from Ed Milet, he was saying one of the biggest forms of trauma, and people don't know it, is your parents not living up to their fullest potential. And I think it's just incredible how your daughters can see, how you've developed and the person you become, because it's just, that is huge in raising children. So I commend you for that.
I appreciate that. I've got 4 daughters, 26, 23, 19, and 14.
Wow.
And one of the things that I've always said in that, my team did a video on that about, one of the things that great dads do is there's 2 things you better do. Number one, you better tell them often, I love you, you're beautiful, you matter, and you better show up for them often. Like, let's go to dinner, let's go do this. And then the second thing is when you make a mistake, you better own it quick. They better be able to see their dad go, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I did that. I'm sorry that I hurt you. One of the things walking through this journey the past couple years is being open to areas where I've hurt my daughters through decisions that I've made not bad decisions, just where I didn't act trying to appease their mother, instead of going, nope, you know what? I'm your dad. I'm showing up to your birthday party. Like, I know it's going to be uncomfortable, but this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And walking through that and going, you know what, baby, I am extremely sorry. We had a thing, and you've got to, as a parent, you got to learn to do that. And a lot of parents, we don't see that mom. I never saw that mom. I went to 12 schools in 12 years. Parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. I'm 53 years old, and this is like self-discovery. It's crazy. I'm like, God, why am I just now discovering some of these things? 53 years old, about 4 months ago, I'm walking through one of my first kind of onboarding sessions with my new therapist, with Maxine. She's super cool. I tell everybody she's like a calm down version of Medea. She's like a 55-year-old Black lady. She's hilarious.
Wow.
She don't put up with no shit. She is, but she's funny. And so we're having a conversation. She's like, tell me about yourself. And I said, well, I grew up, parents got divorced when I was 8 in Michigan, moved to Georgia in second grade. From 6th grade to my senior year of high school, I moved back and forth to my dad's in Michigan, in Pontiac, 6 different times. I went to 12 schools in 12 years, 6 different high schools. And she's writing down in her book, and she looks up and she goes, why did you want to move so many times? And I said, I didn't have a choice. If I ever got in trouble at my mom's, my mom would say, go pack your bag. I had 24 to 48 hours before I was on a plane, a bus, or my dad was in a car ride coming to pick me up from Michigan. And Maxine wrote some notes down, and she looked back up at me and she went, well, how do you think that's affected your relationship with the women who are supposed to love and protect you your whole life? I was like, oh,
it's so true. Yeah. That abandonment, that feeling of,
like, it was just like, and so then it was like, you're, as you grow and get older, and you talked about becoming the best version of yourself, it's like you've got this jigsaw puzzle and there are these missing pieces.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, you just filled in like a whole section for me.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I get that. Now I know, okay, now I know how to combat that. Now I know how to work on my heart, my trigger from those, hey, go pack your bag, you're going to your dad's.
Isn't it so fascinating how so many things happen in your childhood and we carry them into our adulthood without knowing, in our subconscious mindset? And it's like, I'm learning things at 32 that, have impacted me my entire life. And I've like formed these trauma responses, not even knowing. So like when you really start to unpack that, it's like, it's kind of mind blowing. It's, doing the inner work for me isn't any different than doing the outer work on my physical journey and dropping 83, 84 pounds. It's the same thing. It's hard work. It is sweat, really hard. It's tears. It's getting up. It's doing it when you don't want to. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have triggers that you hit, and I had a session in the last couple months where I got up and just walked out. I'm like, I can't do this today. Like, I literally can't process that. Maxine, she texts me, hey, don't worry about it. It's part of the journey. You're good. It's okay. I'll see you in 2 weeks. But it's a process. And I think through the process of figuring out what life is all about is you've got to learn to be able to look at yourself through the lens of grace and mercy. And if you can't let me say this, the way you give yourself grace and the way you forgive yourself is often the same filter you use for everybody else in your life. Oh yeah. Yeah. And so if you can't give yourself grace and forgiveness, you can't offer the same to other people, because you don't even understand really what that's all about. Yeah. I've seen that in my journey recently, where I've just reconnected with my father. I didn't have a relationship with him for 12 years. And I finally was like, you know what, this weight is on my shoulders and I just need to forgive him, because, he wasn't given much longer to live. So I started formulating, a relationship, but I've definitely had to set boundaries. But you're so right in the fact that, like, if I can't forgive myself for everything that I went through and all like the limiting beliefs I put in my mind, then how can I forgive him? And so it's really kind of like made me release all of that resistance and kind of surrender and learn how to love. Yeah. And it wasn't easy.
No. And there's this one quote I really enjoy. my perception or your perception of me is a reflection of you. My reaction to you is an awareness of me. And I just like believe that through and through.
I love
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
When you look at that, and that's one of the things that Gabby talks about in the Happy Days book. It's one of the things obviously in therapy that I've been walking through is, and one of the things I've been doing too for the last 2.5 years is journaling almost every day. I mean, I haven't hit it every day, but I'm close to every day. Even if it's just, 2 sentences, it's
Like
something.
Here's
what today did,
it's important.
Oh, and in that you're able to look back and you can see the progress and the growth.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the work. And then when you have moments like I've had with my daughters, where they're like, Dad, I see it's funny. We were at, I had my 13-year-old weekend before last, and we went to church and went to Cracker Barrel when we got done. She loves to go to Cracker Barrel and eat breakfast. So
I love Cracker Barrel.
Oh, I do too. It's like 1:00 and we're going to eat lunch, and something happened with the order. We didn't get where we were supposed to. And I said, the server came back. I could tell she was a little nervous and new. And I said, hey, no problem. Don't worry about it. It's good. She walks off. My 13-year-old goes, Dad, I'm really proud of you. I said, wow. She goes, you're just so calm. Like, you're just really calm. Like, you're different. And I'm like, okay, baby, thanks. I appreciate that. like dad's been doing work.
Yeah.
But
and it definitely shows when you do the work, for sure.
It really does.
It's no different. It's no different than being in the gym and you go from a XXL shirt to an extra large shirt. It's no different than when you, and I know Sam's probably seen this picture. It's no different than when you have a before and after picture and people see something like this right here for the first time.
I know, that's incredible.
People are
amazing.
like,
I remember when I first got connected with you, I feel like you were just starting your health journey and you've came so far. That's amazing.
It's crazy. I mean, it's the concept I created in the last couple of years called incremental, not monumental. Small daily disciplined decisions over time always equal monumental results. Success can't escape you when you do the right things every day. The question is, and I said this on my call last night, when I open up my mastermind next week, this is the talk I'm going to give, is how many of you guys in the room think you're, in whatever field you're in, think you're the absolute best in the world? How many of you think you're the best looking in the world, the most talented in the world, the most whatever? Listen, none of you, I'm not the most talented guy. I'm not the best looking guy. I'm not the most gifted guy. I'm good. I'm above average, but I'm gonna tell you one thing you won't do is you won't be more consistent than I am. I refuse. I absolutely refuse. Just like that Kobe Bryant video where he says, I sign a contract with myself every summer. And then I don't break promises. There's no negotiation. This is the contract. This is what I said I was going to do. This is what I'm going to do. There's no negotiating. Too many times we negotiate with ourselves, and what it costs us is the dreams and the vision that God's put in our hearts.
Yeah, and our happiness.
Consistency compounds for sure.
Agreed. So I want to go back to your childhood because I know a lot of, very affluent people, and I find that so many of them come from a really, really difficult childhood. And I know you were saying you moved 12 times and all of that. So how do you think, growing up like that, how do you think that transformed you and maybe kind of like pushed you into who you are today? Because I feel like a lot of people who come from lack or not feeling or abandonment or not feeling loved really just like push themselves to a point where it's just incredible the life that they create from themselves.
We love a good underdog story.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple things. This is going to have two parts. To it. The first part's going to be when I got out of ministry full time. I went to work for my best friend in the mortgage business. I was with him for 2.5 years. I was his number one LO, 140, 150 grand every year. I'd never made six figures. I've been in ministry. I was making 50 grand a year doing, youth ministry. Started making really good money. Then I got my broker's license. And then I started making really good money. But what happened was then I didn't have the right people around me. And the things that I had for me were my self-worth identifiers, if you will. My house, my watches, my cars, the places that I went, the things that I did, the people that I knew. It was more about like, that was my identity. And then when the housing market crashed in 2008 and everybody lost everything that they had, and I think I lost 2.8 million is what it was. Wow. I had 14 houses. I had 13 houses, 13 rental properties in my house in Sterling on Lake. And when I lost everything, it was crushing to me. But then now on the journey back, what happens now is when and we'll be a multiple 7-figure business this year inside of GSD. Now you look at it and you're like I bought a Range Rover, but it just doesn't mean what it did. I've got a couple of nice watches. If I don't have them, it doesn't really matter. You know, I mean, it just doesn't, the material things don't matter the way that they used to, because I think when you come out of poverty, lack, you didn't have things when you were young. I remember buying my first pair of Nikes for myself with my job. I think it was in 7th, 8th grade. I cut grass. We lived in a duplex. I cut grass for all the people for like $10, $8, whatever it was. It wasn't much. This would have been in like 1984, before you guys were even born.
Yeah, before we were born.
1984. And I would cut grass. I remember paying like $65, $70 for my first pair of Nikes. Like my mom could never afford that. But I just remember like, oh my gosh, I'm somebody now. I got a pair of Nikes. Right?
Yeah, you worked hard for that.
Yeah, but now you understand that if you come from a difficult situation, divorce, no father at home, no mom at home, maybe no mom or no dad at home. And you grew up and your finances weren't there, and you do struggle with lack, and you do struggle with a scarcity mindset. Really, the reality of this is when you start making money, it's not about the things that you can buy for yourself. Those things don't equate to your worth. Your self-worth is not your net worth. It's just, or your net worth is not your self-worth. It's just not. And I think when you understand that, I was fortunate to be able to walk through what I walked through in 07, 08. And people say fortunate, because I wouldn't be the man that I am today had I not walked through that season in my life. As difficult as it was, I wouldn't have been able to discover who the real Ken Joslin is. And now coming into this, and we're just on the upswing. I mean, we're just on the upswing. I've got a check right here that I wrote out myself for $1 million.
I love it.
To yourself, I love that.
And in my guys I hang out with right now, with Jeff, I was in Calabasas with him last 4 weeks ago, spending 5-6 days with him back in like March, April. We spent some time together, and he goes, what's your goal this year? I said, I want to make $1 million this year myself. I want to make $1 million. And he leaned across the table and he goes, a month or a week? I said, no, Jeff. No, I'm not talking about the business. I want to make $1 million. Yeah. I want to cash $1 million check in a year for me. And he said, he leaned across the table again. He goes, a month or a week? Because he was pushing my limitations in my mindset.
Yes.
And it's okay. I mean, you can buy whatever you want. You can buy a bigger jet, you can buy a bigger house, you can buy another house, you can buy another car, you can buy another watch. You can do all of those things. But the reality of it is, when you go to bed at night, that's not going to bring you fulfillment. Commas and zeros in your checking account don't bring you fulfillment. What brings you fulfillment is the impact you have on other people around you.
Yes, for sure.
One of the most important conversations of my entire life happened when I came off stage after John Maxwell. My mentor, who spoke right behind me, said, hey, can I take you to lunch tomorrow? I said, great, would love to. We went to lunch the next day and we sat down, and she asked me this question. She goes, Ken, do you want to be significant or do you want to be successful? Because they're two vastly different things. And I was smart enough to know significant was the right answer, but I didn't understand why. And I've been really taking this journey in leadership, understanding that significant leaders build others around them so that they can become the best version of themselves and win at levels they've never won at. Where people who chase success use people around them and always leave a trail of damage behind them along the way.
Right.
So which one do you want to do?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, when you get to the end of your life, like nobody's going to remember all the cars you had, the houses you had. They're going to remember how you made it feel.
And the impact.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah, I've heard a few pastor friends of mine say, you never see a hearse pulling a U-Haul. Like you ain't taking it with you. You're not taking it with you.
All right. So I have another question. And so I feel like your morning routine has a lot to do with this. And I know you talked a little bit about it, but what would you say is your perfect recipe to have a successful day? Like what sets you up in the morning to have that successful day and just to crush everything that you have planned?
Yeah, that's easy. Two things. Preparation, number one. Before I go to bed at night, there's so many things that are done for my next day. One of the things is,
yeah, we did this in our podcast.
Inside my planner, my schedule for the next day is done. I know what I'm doing. My pre-workout for my gym is already mixed up in my refrigerator. My workout clothes are sitting in a chair in the corner of my master bedroom. I've got a little seating area. They're sitting there with my tennis shoes. I'm ready to go as soon as I get up. So I would say preparation. Number two, I would say, is my time with God. It's me, and it's my time to get grounded and go, okay, God, this is the dream you put in me. This is what you called me to do. My gratitude affirmations, my mirror work, where I'm talking to myself in the mirror. I'm like, literally, Ken Joslin, I love you. 10 times Dr. Rob's got me saying that in the morning. And by the time I get to about 7, 8, or 9, I'm so jacked. I'm like, let's go.
I love it. You give yourself a high five in the mirror.
Sometimes I fist bump myself in the mirror. Sometimes, but I'm too OCD. Like I like my stuff clean. Like if you walked in my closet right now, you'd be like, there's something wrong with this guy, because all my clothes are spaced, all my tennis shoes are in boxes. I'm a little OCD when it comes to that. But I would say that, and then my workout. I would say preparation, my time with God, my time with me, which would be my workout, and then my goals, gratitude, affirmations, top 3. Huge.
Yep, filling your cup up first. I love that.
Every single time. If you don't, you're not going to be able to give to other people what God desires. You need to give people what's coming out of your overflow. Like you don't give people the first, you give them what's coming out of the overflow.
No, then you drain yourself and you have nothing left to give, and then you end up worse off.
Yeah, of course. All right. And so kind of to wrap this up, I just wanted to see if you can give, any advice to our listeners, if they wanted to start a business or a project and they're just afraid, or they're, looking to switch careers. What advice would you have for them?
Get in rooms with people who think bigger than you do. I wrote that quote down in my 10X planner for about 1.5 years until I created my own planner. And then it's printed in the bottom of every page. Get in rooms with people who think bigger than you do. The key to anybody doing anything extraordinary, there's 2 things. Number one, a lot of people, I don't believe people are inherently lazy. I believe people have never seen it done before. So you've got to get in proximity. Like you've got to get in proximity with people that are doing it. Like I said, I told you, dude, when I told Jeff $1 million, he went, a month or a week. Like I'm thinking $1 million for the year. And he's like, no. And you know what I told him? I said, okay, I got you. Just let me do the $1 million a year. And then I'll catch up with the $1 million a month or the $1 million a week. Just let me get there first. And then I'll catch up with you. But I would say it's proximity. You got to get around people who are doing it. So you go, that's possible. And some people, and you've got to be the type of person, when you get around people who are doing more than you, it doesn't make you feel less than.
Right.
Yeah. And it inspires you.
Yes. It inspires you and opens up possibility. Well, dude, if he can do it, I can do it. Right. If she can do it, I can do it. You got to be that person. And then it's mindset. It's a constant mindset battle. Listen,
you got to build.
Oh, dude, and it continues.
Oh my gosh,
every level you go,
there's always more to go. Yeah.
Like you can deal with scarcity at one level, and you're like, okay, I got it conquered. You get to the next level, scarcity goes, ooh, forgot about me.
Yeah,
I know.
Forgot about me.
Yes, so true. Well, thank you so much for having, coming and joining us.
Yeah,
it was amazing. Such incredible insight from you. And I always feel like you fill my cup up too when I speak to you.
I could feel the energy come off you.
I know. I feel like you're a generator.
I tell people all the time, there are 2 types of people. There are thermometers and thermostats.
Yes, I love this one.
Thermometers just gauge the temperature of the room. Thermostats have the ability to be able to change any climate or any temperature in any room they walk into.
For sure.
And really the way you do that, there's 2 things you do. Number one, be a person that wants something for people and not from people. And then be interested, not interesting.
Yes, I love those too.
Learn about what other people are doing. What do they have got going on in their life? How can you help them? How can you add value to them? Not about, hey, I'm Ken Joslin, I'm doing boom, 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 boom. Like that stuff's going to come out later on. And when that stuff does come out, they're like, dude, you didn't tell me you did this. You didn't tell me you had this. You didn't tell me you do this. Oh, well, I just wanted to help
to know you.
Yeah. So
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure to have you.
You're more than welcome.
All our listeners out there. Thank you for joining us again. And we're sending you love and light. Hopefully you'll join us back next week.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Oh shit. What did I just say? I don't know what happened.
It's still recording.
Okay,
hold
good.
on.
It's here somewhere.
There's so many. Oh, here we go.
No.
We lost you kind of. Oh, there it is.
I've got to get microphones like you guys do.
They have little smiley faces on them. Do you see
That is
it?
way too, yeah, I do know. Yeah, that's way too